Okay, here we are. We left Charleston, and not sure how far we're going today, but this whole video right here is actually about 3 days of videoing. I didn't do a whole lot of videoing, mainly because there's nothing really to talk about. But here you can see all these boaters out here. It looks like they all lined up one right after the other, and every one of them were all senior citizens. So they must have known each other. They decided, okay, let's go have lunch somewhere. You can see they knocked down my camera and everything because of the waves they're creating. They don't bother to even slow down. Uh, so I got hit by 4 or 5 of these boat waves and bouncing me all over the place. And that's one of the reasons why I don't like to travel on the weekends, because you have all this boat traffic out here. And I went ahead and passed these guys, and I thought, okay, well, at least they're gone now. And then as soon as I said that, I kept looking further out. And then I realized, uh-oh, there was another set of these guys coming by. And again, they were all senior citizens, and they were all lined up, one right after the other. They were traveling a little bit slower, but still, you're still going through all the wakes and everything here. And one of the big things, obviously, is that when you're riding on a boat, for 4 or 5 hours a day, and just to get pounded by these wakes all day long, it takes its toll on you. So I kind of like to travel, like I said, Monday through Friday, although this happened, I think it was on a Thursday, so, uh, and, these senior citizens, they all line up and decide, well, shouldn't, kind of say senior citizen. I'm a senior citizen. So anyway, we're going to keep going. We're heading into a little town because I'm having engine problems. Turned out there's a little town called McClintonville or something like that in South Georgia or in South Carolina. And there happens to be an Evinrude dealer there. Yeah, they have a certified Evinrude mechanic. So I kind of decided, well, I'm going to go head over there, and I'm going to have to tie up over there and wait for this guy to look at my motor and see if he could tell me, what my problem is with it. Uh, and while I was heading that way, I did kind of notice that this little town or whatever apparently has some kind of history. Come turn out that I heard it from an old gentleman there that it used to be like the biggest kept secret for drug dealers. Apparently, this little town is so close to the Atlantic Inlet that they used to run drugs in there, and they'd be in and out of there so quick, nobody could catch them. By the time they knew it, they were long gone. They'd come in, drop the drugs, and take off. Uh, Here I am tied up at the dock right now. It's a boat ramp dock, and I just kind of decided, to stay here the night, uh, mainly because it's a pretty nice dock, and I had already traveled about 3 or 4 hours, and I decided, well, I'm not going to keep going. Uh, so what I did is I went ahead and tied up here, and a lot of times it's hard for them, if they come over, it's hard for them to see my little boat. But then this big sailboat came in, and he tied up right next to me. And of course, he's got his running light on, which is the mast, all the way on the top of the mast. He's got this big old light on. And I thought, man, it's going to be hard for somebody to miss that thing. So I figured, well, I guess if they come, they're going to kick him out, but they're going to kick me out too, because I'm doing the same thing he is. So I went ahead and we stayed tied up anyway there in the morning. And I actually ran into some friends that were traveling. I met them, I think, in Florida. on their sailboat, and they're heading to Canada. They're both Canadian, and they were heading to Canada. So I ran into them here. We got together and we went out and had a dinner, and it was pretty good. It so happens that it was a little restaurant from within walking distance from where we're at called Filling Station, and they had $5 Burger Wednesday is what it was. And I was expecting, a small little burger, and this thing turned out to be a giant burger with French fries for $5. And they had all the trimmings you want: lettuce, tomato, onions, mustard, pickles, mayonnaise, ketchup, whatever you wanted. And it turned out to be a pretty good deal. For under $10, I had a nice dinner, because I also bought some tea. And so it turned out to be pretty good there. I got to sit down with these guys, the boyfriend and his girlfriend, who were heading back to Canada. They bought the sailboat, actually in St. Petersburg, Florida, which is right across the bay from Tampa Bay, from where I'm at. And they kind of looked at other boats and everything, but the one they wanted had already been sold. There was a contract on it, and it got sold. So they ended up buying this one here, and now they were taking it back to Canada, because I guess they plan to live on it. It's pretty small. It was I think a 26 or 28 footer, so it wasn't a very big boat. Anyway, this is the next day. I went ahead and untied my lines, and I went ahead and took off. Everything pretty much was uneventful at night. Nobody came to throw us out. And the girl and that guy I was telling you about that I had dinner with the night before, you'll see them. I'm going to go right by their sailboat. They're the very last ones. They like to tie up at the very end. And here is that little town, McClintonville, that I was telling you about. Here's where I was going to meet up with the mechanic. Got a pretty nice little history town. It's a very small town. I think they said it was less than 500 people population there, and that might be including a couple of dogs that they threw in just to make it look like there's more people there. That was what one of the old guys said. So, but anyway, here's it's a very interesting story. A guy invented this windmill, sawmill type of thing, and the historian happened to be standing there, was telling me the story about it, and he says, well, he never really got it to work, and he never really made money with it. But anyway, this here is a church that is established in 1706. And it's the original, they said it's the original church. It has been, refaced, and it's also been redone with different tiles and everything already a couple times, they said. But like the windows and the original building is all still there. And it's an old building. Here is where I was telling you I had a little incident. I tied up at a public dock, and there was a big building right by the docks. Happened to be the Chamber of Commerce building for that little town. So I walked in there and I asked them. I explained to them I was having engine problems. Here's another thing. Another interesting thing here is that there is a we're still here with the church, but there's another. I'll come back to that other one later. The other thing was that where I tied up at, it was right in front of the Chamber of Commerce, and I thought, okay, I'm gonna get kicked out surely for this. But anyway, here's the tree right here that I photographed. This tree is said to be over 1,000 years old. And it's still there. They say that's the mainstay for our little town, is this tree that has been there for over 1,000 years. Uh, Pretty interesting. You can tell that it's been, cut and mended and everything else for quite a few times. But it the guy said it is 100 years old. 1,000. I'm sorry. It is 1,000 years old. Pretty interesting. But getting back to the story on what happened when I was there. I asked the lady at the Chamber of Commerce, and I explained to her that I was having engine problems, and that if I could go ahead and tie up till I got the mechanic to come in the morning. This was on a Sunday, and the mechanic was not, obviously they weren't coming out on Sunday, so the mechanic would be coming out on Monday. And the lady said, fine. Says, yeah, since you're having problems with your engine, don't worry about it. It's a pretty quiet town and everything. Well, turns out somebody tried to break into the boat while I was asleep. I thought, here's the footsteps of the guy trying to get in as he was coming down the dock. Turns out he never even got on the dock. What he did is he tried to get into the water and from the shoreline and walk into the water because it was low tide. So he tried to walk up, and you can see the mud of his hands and feet there. You can see the mud there where he tried to get up, and then you can see it. There's more mud on the engine. There's also more mud on the other side of the boat by the swim platform. All that mud there is, he must have fallen or something while he was coming from the shore to the boat. You can see the shore there, and it's all muddy there. So you could see, here's the back part of it. So he tried to come in through there, and he must have fallen or something. He must have been full of mud. And I asked him, I didn't ask him what happened, is that once he got in, now the boat moves, with the waves. So a lot of times I don't pay attention to when the boat's rocking. I just figure, hey, a boat going by, and that's the waves and all of that. So that didn't bother me much until I heard the noise on the door as if somebody was trying to open it. And he was trying, I guess, to turn the knob hard enough and thinking, the lock would break or something and he would open the door. I was all the way forward on the V-berth. He couldn't see me because it's dark in there at night. So he didn't realize I was inside the boat. And I carry a flare gun with me, and I sleep with it. So I went ahead and as soon as I heard him trying to open the door, I went ahead and put a shell in the flare gun, and I yelled out at the guy, and I told him, I said, get off my boat now or I will shoot you. Well, apparently it must have scared the daylights out of him. I don't know whether he thought I had a gun and I was going to shoot him. I did have the flare gun, and I was going to use it. Had he opened that door, I would have used my flare gun. I don't take chances. I figure out, hey, I'll ask questions later. If the guy breaks into my boat, I'm going to shoot him. The good thing is that I scared him so bad that he practically tried to jump off from the boat onto the dock, and he fell between the boat and the dock. Finally climbed up on the dock and took off running. But anyway, here's another little town, Georgetown, where I stopped and stayed overnight. This time I just dropped anchor out with the other sailboats that are out there. I just dropped anchor out there. Where you're allowed to use the public docks, but you can't stay there overnight. You can only stay there while the businesses are open, which is about 11 o'clock. After 11, they said that the guards that come by, they see any boats, they'll figure out who they belong to and tell them they have to move them, or they will tow them. So I didn't want to stay there and cause any problems. But this little town, Georgetown, was a real nice town. It was very interesting. Everything, was nice and clean. Here's the next, the next dock I stayed at, or didn't stay at, but where it's still in Georgetown, and there were two different docks that I tied up to, and then I went walking around and taking video and everything. Went to a nice little restaurant called SoCal or something like that. It was pretty nice, good food and everything. But the problem again was that I left my credit card there. And I didn't realize it until I was long gone. I was already somewhere in the reference of 40, 50 miles when I was going to use my credit card and realized I didn't have my credit card with me. I looked all over the boat thinking, well, I must have dropped it or it fell somewhere in between the cracks, somewhere in here in the boat. And then I kind of backtracked and I saw my receipts and everything, and I realized that the last place I had used the card was at that restaurant. So I got on the phone, called them, and I asked them, I said, do you guys by any chance have a credit card there? And the lady asked me, yeah, what name is it? And I gave her the name. She says, yep, it's here. Of course, I was not going to turn around and go back and get it. So I ended up having to just cancel that credit card from my bank. And I called the bank and had them issue me a new card. And now they're going to send it to my house. And then I'm going to try and get, either my wife or somebody to mail it to me. And I'll, pick it up somewhere. But here I went ahead after the day. I went ahead and took off here, and like I said, I went ahead and dropped anchor right in between all these sailboats right here where the two sailboats are. You're gonna see me coming in close to the shoreline on the back end. So anybody tries to come in my boat again, they're gonna have to swim to get to me this time, because I almost went all the way to the shoreline, and because I got a pretty little draft, I only draw 18 inches of water with my engine up. I can get pretty close to a beach or island or anything like that that's within 3 feet, 4 feet, even at low tide, and I can drop anchor and I can stay there and don't have to worry about big boats coming and hitting me, because if they'll run aground first before they hit me. So that's one of the advantages that I like about. I don't anchor out in deep water. I always anchor out in shallow water where I know there's not going to be a big boat coming by real fast and not see me and then hit me, because chances are they will run aground first before they get to me. But I spent the night here and everything was kind of nice and quiet. Didn't have any problems. It was a little windy in the morning there, as you can see when I was leaving. But other than that, pretty much an uneventful day. After here, I decided, okay, where am I going to one of the reasons why I actually stopped here was because they had the best gas price in the area. So I filled up both tanks and my spare tank. That's why I decided to go to that little town there, which is Georgetown. Great little town. Here I just filmed a couple of seconds here or a couple of minutes of me going down the intercoastal. This is what the intercoastal is all about. The majority of the intercoastal is just like this. The funny thing about this is that this went on for almost 45 minutes to an hour. Nothing. I couldn't see nothing. No cars, no houses, no nothing. Not even I think I saw maybe one or two boats go by, and that was about it. And I know this, if you get engine problems or something like that, you might have to be there for a while by the time Boat US comes and gets you and tows you into, a service center somewhere to see what's wrong with your engine or whatever. Or, if something goes wrong and you can't go anywhere. But, it's not the big open ocean like people think the Great Loop is. The Great Loop is 60%, I would say, of the Great Loop is exactly what you're seeing right here. Either a river, either a canal, or small lakes. This is actually a canal that we're going through right now. Uh, it was built by the Corps of Engineers, Army Corps of Engineers, and there's several of them that kind of hook up to rivers, and then they dredge a little channel or something so that you can cross from one river to the other river or whatever. Uh, Here, as a matter of fact, also, I was leaving South Carolina. That where the next stop that I have would be in North Carolina. So that means that once I get to North Carolina, I would have taken out 4 states already out of the 15 that I have to go through. So we're cutting down to a single digit in states pretty quick here. I'm traveling a lot faster because once the guy looked at my engine, he went ahead and hooked up his tablet to it, and we took the boat out and we're running it. And he said the biggest reason or the problem my engine was skipping is it wasn't skipping, is that it has too much carbon buildup. Here's a little interesting little thing. I mean, we'll have miles and miles of nothing, and then all of a sudden one little restaurant pops up. It's a little marina, and I saw the sign going by for fuel. It was $6.87 a gallon. Okay, that was ridiculous. I was not. Good thing I had plenty of fuel and I could just keep going. Didn't have to stop to pick up fuel there. But that was pretty interesting because there was nothing out here, and then all of a sudden, this one little thing out here shows up, and then again we go back to the same thing. Another 45 minutes to an hour of nothing. But anyway, as I was going to say, out of the 15 states that I got to cross, by today, I'm going to cross 4 of them already. I'll be in North Carolina when I stop again. And the way I'm going, I mean, I haven't even been out a month yet. I still got a few more days, and I've already gone through Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, and now North Carolina. So the way I'm going at this rate, I'm going to do the loop a lot quicker than I thought I was. And the problem with the engine after the tech hooked up his tablet to it was that I had carbon buildup, even though they had just put brand new spark plugs. He says, "What RPMs are you running?" I said, "Oh, I'm running about 2,500 RPM to conserve fuel." He says, "Well, that was wrong." He says, "Your engine is capable of running between 32 and 3,500 RPM, and it'll save you actually gas because you're going to go further. Even though it does use up more gas, you're going to go a lot further when you're up on a plane than you are when you're pushing water. So, and not only that, you're fouling out your plugs." So he recommended that I use the oil that I put into the oil reservoir tank. He recommended that I pour some of that oil into my fuel tank. He said, because it has good detergent and it'll blow out all the carbon that I've got built up in there. Here's an interesting little riverboat that was actually working. I guess it goes out and takes people out on tours and stuff like that. I just went ahead and saw it, and I decided to film it, and then I turned around and got it filming the other side. Actually, what he was doing is he was tying up right there at the marina where it's at there. I guess that's his home base, and that's where they get off and on there. And then right across from the marina here was a restaurant. Then I went ahead and decided to have lunch there. Not only did I have lunch, but it was so much food that I even took what I didn't finish with me, and that was also part of my dinner. So I had lunch and dinner all at one time for the same price. But anyway, here you'll see I'm turning into. There's the restaurant where I went ahead and tied up and ate. Again, pretty good food, a little on the pricey side. But after I got done eating and stuff, I went ahead and found me this dock right here. Again, another boat ramp. And this happens to be under a bridge. Um, I thought the noise of the cars going by all night were going to keep me up, but actually it wasn't that bad. After a while, you kind of get used to the noise, and it wasn't real loud. Uh, but I stayed tied up here, and uneventfully, nothing happened. Everything went good. Here I am next morning. I'm going to go ahead and take off. And by the time when I leave here, when I stop again, I will be in North Carolina. So that's going to give me 4 states out of the 15 that I have to cross. I originally thought it was going to take me about a year to do this loop, but now that the mechanic says I need to be running at a higher speed, I've been running at a higher speed, and I've only been traveling for about 4 hours, but I'm getting almost twice the distance that I was getting before as far as speed, because now instead of doing 8 miles an hour, I'm averaging right at about 14 to 15 miles an hour. So I'm almost doubling the time, and I'm only traveling 4 hours now instead of traveling 6 hours like I was before, because I was going slower. Now I travel 4 hours, so now I even have a lot more time on my hands to do other little things, to look around wherever I decide to stay and all of that. This was a pretty nice little place. Like I said, it was pretty uneventful. And I decided, well, since I got to be going fast, I don't leave now so early in the morning. What I was doing before is I was leaving just as the sun starts to come up, which was about 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning. Now I get up, have my breakfast, I take my time. Didn't leave here till almost 9 o'clock. And I went for 4 hours, and I end up being in North Carolina within the 4 hours. And I traveled right at about, I think when I calculated it, I traveled somewhere in the reference of 46 miles. So my suspicion is that since I'm not even 30 days into this, and I've gone from Florida to North Carolina, that this is going to be a lot shorter trip than I thought it was. My expenses are going off the roof, but also if I'm not going to be underwater for a year, and I'm only going to be there, let's say, half the time, 6 months, then the expenses are pretty much average themselves out pretty good. So here's the 2 ships that I happened to notice as I was going by. These are casino ships. And what they do is you're not allowed to gamble in state waters, or even in some states. So what they do is they load these things up with people, and they go out in the Atlantic, and they go out into international waters, not state waters. And I'm not sure exactly whether it's 3 miles or 5 miles, but it's one of those. And once you go past the state waters and you're in international waters, then the state no longer has any say-so as to what you can and can't do. And so they'll take you off far enough, and then they'll open up the casinos, and you can play practically all night if you want. Some of them come back the next day. Some of them come back 2 days. It's up, what kind of trip you want to take. Some of them will go in real early in the morning, or take off early in the morning and then come back real late at night, let's say 2 or 3 o'clock in the evening. They're back already. But you still would have played probably, for 8 hours. Played casino for about 8 hours. And then they bring you back. And I know in the past, on some of these casino trips that we were on, the drinks were free, obviously, because they wanted to get you drunk, because they figure, hey, you'll spend more, and you won't realize how much money you've already spent if you're drunk. So it's free drinks all night long. They also provide you with a pretty good buffet, and that goes on all night too. Here's a tugboat, pushing a barge, pretty big barge too, as a matter of fact. And I noticed that the closer I'm getting to a place called Cape Fear River, that all these barges are showing up. And they said, yeah, there's tons of them on the river there. Cape Fear, I guess, is the river. Cape Fear River is pretty well known. They even made a movie about it when I remember it quite a few years back, watching a movie about Cape Fear. But anyway, here I'm already out of South Carolina. I'm already into North Carolina, and I'm heading into a place called Southport. When I got to Southport, I realized the gas price, it was $6.95 per gallon, almost $7. And I thought, nah, this is too rich of a town for me. So I was low on ice. So I just told the guy, you know what, just give me a bag of ice. I'll get fuel somewhere else. Let me have a bag of ice. Well, a small 10-pound bag of ice cost me $5, which normally I only pay half of that. I normally pay $2.50 at all the other marinas. Here I am coming in to a little marina that I happened to see as I was going by, and it's also a state park. And I know that state parks probably have the best deals in town. For me to stay transit, what they call transit docking, which is overnight, what they do is they charge you per foot. Most places were charging me $2.50 per foot. So on a 22-footer, I'm paying $48, $49 to stay overnight. Plus, they charge you $10 for if you want electric and water. So it was costing me anywhere between, I'd say between $60 and $70 for an overnight stay at these transit docks in the marinas. But I do this at least twice a week. That I'll stay in the marinas or something like that. That way I can go ahead and use the facilities and take a shower. A lot of the state parks now where they don't have a marina do have boat docks. And sometimes I'll tie up into one of those, and they have restrooms and showers because they'll have campground sites and all that. So I'll go in there and use the showers and stuff. Nobody's ever told me I can't, so I went and go ahead and did it. But I walked in here and I tied up and found out the fuel. I think they said it was like $5.60, a little bit better than the other marina, $5.60 a gallon. So I still thought that was kind of high. So I said, no, I'm going to keep going. I'll find fuel somewhere else. Well, it turns out this place is the lowest priced gas anywhere in the area. So I'm going to go ahead and fill up my tanks when I leave here. Because of the Memorial Weekend, I mean, there's going to be boaters all over the place this weekend. So these guys here charge $30 per night. Doesn't matter what size boat you have. It's $30 per night, which is real cheap. And then I did get a veterans discount, $6. So I paid $24 per night to stay here. And that also includes electric and water, which most places will charge you extra for electric and water. Here, that's included in the price. So for $24 a day, I figured I might as well stay here for the Memorial Weekend because I didn't want to stay. Well, this is the end. See you later. Bye.